a definite state of being that I'm in. Sure. Also, I got these like round
earrings.
Yeah.
Hi friends, host Derek here, who's talking to Spanish people, and I'm here with on-the-scene reporter Rachel, who got to experience the state shutdown today.
Yeah, I did.
Live and in person at the mall.
Yeah.
So what, did they make an announcement about loudspeakers or what?
It was snow. It was very strange. So first thing I noticed was that Victoria's Secret was closed. So I was like, okay, like not everything's open, but Old Navy had a huge sign saying we're open. I was like, oh shit, I forgot my mask. Then you came back with the mask. Mm-hmm. I was able to go in and they checked me off. Like they were like checking off to see how many people were coming into the store. I guess you could only allow like a limited amount of people. So I go shopping in there. I'm trying stuff on. I buy stuff. No problem. Then I'm like, okay, like I want to see Express. I just want to see what kind of like rings they had. And I stopped into Cotton, the Cotton Co. And that's where the guy was like, we're under quarantine. We have to close right now. And he's like, it's everywhere. It's like, oh, man. Yeah. I was like, oh, man.
What's up, CJ? So, what I'm here to say is to reinforce the point I made before and to explore a little further that what we need in this instance is an affirmation. So in the status quo, COVID people are making all the affirmations. We should do this, we should do that, yeah. We should do the other, okay? And intelligent people are making negations going, no, we shouldn't. Those are bad ideas. But the problem is there's nothing to really get behind as an affirmation if you are opposing this nonsense. Nobody wants to say, my position is do nothing. And so my position is that the reason this COVID nonsense is continuing for as long as it is for want of this narrative, and that with the inclusion and addition of this narrative into popular culture, we can solve the COVID problem. Yeah. So what is that narrative then, Eric? Well, I'll tell you. Is let it run its course. Mm-hmm. Because, and why is it important for it to have this, for us to use that narrative, and why is that narrative so effective? Well, because it gives you a positive thing to affirm, namely, we're going to get this over with fast. Everybody's going to get it anyway, so let's get it over with fast. And let's certainly not incur other harms that we don't have to. If everybody's going to get it anyway, then we shouldn't take harmful measures to prevent it from happening, right? That just makes sense. If they're not going to be useful, if they're not going to help, then we shouldn't do it. My point was early on, even if we try this quarantine thing and it works for a while, what possible reason do we have to believe this is not just going to simply spike back up again as soon as we pull the quarantine away? And nobody had any answers for that. And I guess the central answer to it was flatten the curve. And I said, but, I mean, I still say, the reality is that it's not that much of a strain on the hospitals at all. You know, LA County reported 3,700 new cases today and 18 deaths from COVID, which, okay, let's call it 20 deaths, 1% of 2,000. And we're pushing 4,000 new cases, 20 deaths. These are confirmed new cases. You got to figure the actual number of new cases is much higher than the confirmed new cases. But even the actual number of confirmed new cases and deaths ratio, you're looking at 0.5%, which is pretty darn low. And which is what I've been saying the whole time, is that the final numbers are going to be like 0.3%, 0.2%, something along around there. So why should we let it run its course? Well, so that we have our lives impacted as little as possible by this disease. In general, across the board, everybody's lives are going to be impacted by this disease to some extent or another. And it is true that one of those impacts to people's lives will be death, having loved ones die. And that's going to happen no matter what we do. We might be able to minimize it somewhat, or maybe not. So then the question is, well, what other impacts in people's lives are there going to be? And so, another possible impact was, well, some people would normally be, well, some people might choose to take additional precautions by wearing masks and so forth to minimize the chance of themselves getting it, even though probably they're going to get it anyway, because everybody's going to get it. Well, the conclusion then obviously is, given that we can't meaningfully impact the total number of deaths and reduce it substantially, then we have to take the approach that has the minimal amount of negative impacts, that adds the minimal amount of negative impacts. And that plan of action is to let it run its course. That's what the world should do about COVID. Some places like New Zealand probably aren't even talking about it at all anymore, thinking about it, except places like here, Rachel's getting kicked out of the mall today because new quarantine, shutting everything down again. No end date provided.
It was the weirdest thing. It was the strangest thing. I felt like putting up a sign and being like, "Don't even bother coming in because they're closing again." Yeah, it was so strange. Sub CJ O'Connell. Apparently, and then it was interesting too when you were telling me that it went statewide. Because at first, the guy who told me that they were shutting down had said it was LA County that said that we were going into quarantine.
I mean, the thing is, somebody or a number of people need to take on the role of actual social justice warrior, which is to say, a business like a restaurant or something that is, or a set of them that are willing to take this on sort of as a group, where they all open anyway and allow themselves to get shut down by the cops or whatever, and then challenge that in court. Do I support using masks? I support individuals' rights to choose to wear a mask if they want to. And I support, on a technical level, the store's right to choose to whether they want to require masks or not to.
Exactly.
I may not like it when stores require masks, but I respect it if it's the store's choice.
Yeah.
If it's the state's choice, then I have no respect for that. Because first of all, and most importantly, this whole strategy of trying to prevent people from getting this highly contagious, minor virus, flu-like virus, that is not disproportionately bad compared to normal flus, but is disproportionately, it is going to infect a disproportionate number of people because there's no immunity to it, right? So it's, and there's no vaccine or anything like that. So, okay, fine. The point is, it's still just a flu. It may or may not actually be called a flu. It's a coronavirus, which means it's a cold. The common cold variant of the common cold. I know it's worse than the common cold. But I also would agree that by any reasonable measure, it is not worse than the average flu. In fact, it's less deadly, and it has some other pleasant or agreeable aspects to it. So the thing is, it's a tired subject for you, Angantir, because you're in New Zealand. It's a brand new, reoccurring instances of butt fuckery here in Los Angeles. Rachel today got kicked out of the mall because of the new state quarantine.
Yeah, they didn't want my money. I did go shopping though. I did get things. I got lucky. We went early, and I knew exactly where I wanted to go, and luckily because of that mind frame, I think. We went earlier. I knew what I wanted to get. I tried on really quick. If I didn't like it, I wasn't getting it. And I was able to get some stuff from Old Navy, and I'm happy about that. But then, I wasn't allowed to shop.
Here's the thing. this is what the current COVID response and general the New York, not New York, the mainstream media. There's a mainstream media avalanche of bullshit that stems from the fact that people don't acknowledge. Okay, so basically, it's like, let's say you're going to save $30,000. Let's say you were supposed to pay $30,000 in taxes, but you go to a tax guy and he saves you $10,000. So now you only have to pay $20,000 in taxes, but he charges you $100,000 to do this work. Now that's what the COVID people are doing.
Yeah.
Let's pay $1 billion for something to make us spend a little bit less over here. It's like, yes, we're going to incur these harms no matter what, the deaths. The vast majority of people who are going to die from COVID are going to die from COVID no matter what we do. And we could save some lives. But even if we do save some lives, we have to be realistic about our opportunity cost.
That's the hashtag. We could save some lives, COVID-19.
Right. We could save some lives is not a reason to force everybody to follow this course of action. Because remember, we can expend resources on saving lives in a variety of different ways. So if I have a plan to save lives, and I say, let's expend this many resources, let's say $1 trillion, and I will save 5 lives. And somebody else could say, I can save 10 lives of that $1 trillion. Somebody else could say, I can save 1,000 lives of that $1 trillion, or whatever, right? So we're going to have to be smart about how we spend that $1 trillion. Remember, if we waste that $1 trillion saving 4 lives, then we have not done a good thing. We have not cared about life at all. We don't understand that we can't keep spending all of our resources saving lives if, in fact, it prevents us long-term from saving lives. So let's say the time comes and we need to spend a lot of resources to save 1 billion lives. We don't have those resources. 1 billion people die now because we wasted all of our resources on a minor project. It's like the world is kind of like an extremely spoiled housewife who's complaining after having her custom mansion built for her by her rich husband that he wouldn't let her get a warming oven.
Freddie Forgiato, where are you in New York? Do you live in New York?
You will be mask shamed. Let me get my swab.
I definitely felt that when I was walking around without a mask. I was like, fuck. It's like, there's no way of getting around this one. I have to call. Oh, you're in the Bronx? Cool. I know where the Bronx is. Been there a few times, more than a few times.
COVID alarmists suck ass would be a good shirt to wear.
What?
COVID alarmists suck ass.
It does.
That would be a good shirt.
There is this whole, I showed you there's like memes about how people are like dealing with it and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm okay. And like the next thing they're like.
Email Anthrax, this whole wearing masks is an attempt. No, wearing it. See, what's happening is not wearing masks, right? Forcing everybody to wear masks is an attempt by a few individual people to save lives. Well, if I force you to wear hot pants every day, and I tell you it's an attempt to save your life, then I'm justified in forcing you to do that, right? Let it run its course. Be the norm. It will kill people. The thing is, let it run its course is the norm.
That is.
Of course, we don't think that because somebody might catch a cold, we can justify locking them in their house. That's sane, right? It's sanity. There's a couple of basic principles that we have to think about here. And principle number one says, if you're going to make a utilitarian argument, you make it by arguing in favor of diverse harm. Concentrated harm for diverse good. Okay? Concentrated harm for diverse good. So, for example, this is the justification behind progressive taxation. Yes, the rich people are harmed a lot because they get 50% of their money stolen by the government. But it's worth it because of the diffuse good. So many people are helped by that harming of one person. That taking all that money from that one person will help so many people. That's what justifies it, okay? The principle of diffuse good versus concentrated harm. But the problem is this. With the whole COVID thing, because people don't think in a principled fashion or understand anything at all, the whole COVID quarantine notion is the opposite of that. It is diffuse harm for concentrated good. We hurt everybody some to help a few people a lot. That's not acceptable public policy. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
If there suddenly came into being a class of people called the fragile people, who were subject to dying from from the common cold, then we wouldn't lock everybody inside, right? Like boy in a bubble thing, where if a boy is allergic to everything and everything will kill him, he's got such a weak immune system or whatever. Boy in a bubble. We don't make everybody else go into a bubble and let boy in a bubble walk around without a bubble, right? He's the boy in the bubble. We're not. Everything else bubbles up to protect the boy. Well, look, John Collins, don't use the words free will, liberty, and freedom interchangeably. They're different things. How's a mask going to be unacceptable? It's a mask. It's not a huge deal if it doesn't destroy your life, is it? Actually, it definitely is robbing me of freedom and liberty. I don't like wearing a mask. It is a huge deal. It's hugely inconvenient. It's absolutely unpleasant. I don't want to be stuck behind a mask, feeling like I'm half suffocating all the time, smelling my own breath all the time, and I don't like it. And that's good enough reason. The thing is, I have a choice. If I'm really worried about, but see, email to Anthrax, if you're so worried about catching the disease, you don't go to the store. That's where the onus is on the proper side of the thing. Email to Anthrax, stop. It's the people who are at risk for actually being harmed by this disease. That onus is on them. The vulnerable population who's so worried about catching it, they need to take those countermeasures, not me. And what if I've already had it? There's a very strong chance I have. California, it looks like there was a mass wave of it back before they even did the quarantine. Another wave now that the quarantine's over. They've shut everything down again, but it's too late. The math is clear. At this point, you're beyond the exponential growth rate.
It is robbing freedom, Kevin Chan.
How am I also at fault of what? At fault for what? There's not anybody proving that I am even contagious of any disease. You're saying I'm putting them at risk. Establish that I actually have this virus and I'm contagious in some fashion. Just because I might have it and be unaware of it is not a reason to force me to wear a fucking mask. Makes no fucking sense at all.
I don't know, Gyro Lamb. A lot of people do have problems breathing with those masks. Hey, Annie.
No, because I'm not responsible for others. They're responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not forcing them to be responsible for me. For God's sakes. I mean, come on. Be sensible. There's absolutely nothing reckless about me going about my normal business as normal. Simply because there's been a mass panic produced about this ridiculous cold by the mass media is not a reason to think that me going about my business is being irresponsible. It's fucking insane. Your lack of good thinking about this is irresponsible. That's true. No, they are, emailed Anthrax. They're forcing stores to force me to wear masks.
Yeah.
Not everything that isn't going to kill me is a small thing, emailed Anthrax. What are you going to allow me to arbitrarily force you to do? Wear a hat every day, emailed Anthrax. It's a small thing. It won't kill you. It's okay if I force you to do it for my stupid arbitrary reasons. Nobody's proved anything about this that's actually going to be successful at all. Nobody's established at all remotely. It was ruining my evening at the moment, arguing with you about it. It's causing division between people who are like, oh, we have to always err on the side of protecting everybody, even if it violates our rights.
And then also, like, there's like a policy of like being 6 feet apart, yet your child is like right behind me and totally gross, and like you're not doing anything about it.
That's the other thing. If you're going to have these fucking rules, then they better enforce them strictly and consistently across the board.
What I've been doing.
Of course, they're not. So they don't work at all. So it's totally fucking arbitrary garbage.
Exactly. It's that color.
Nobody paid attention to what was going to happen. Nobody paid any attention to what the actual reality of things was and how we normally respond to that. Nobody made any calculation at all about what the best course of action was, rather simply what we might do and how it might save lives. And most of all, everybody was very clear about their feelings. How important it is that people's lives be protected all the time.
They had messages over the sound speaker at Old Navy. Thank you for
wearing a mask.
Complaint. Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. We can't make these arguments, and I've heard it from so many pro-COVID people, these ridiculous arguments that say, well, if it was done correctly, you have to make your fucking advocacy in the real world where we know how shit's going to actually play out. People are not going to put up with this forever. People don't like it. Not everybody agrees with you, and they're not going to sort of tamely and complacently allow I mean, I don't think that's happening very often, Tommy, at all.
I didn't see that.
I've not seen people getting arrested for gatherings. I know that they're prohibited or whatever, but I don't believe that it's actually happening. Yes. Well, okay. I see. This is the thing. Giving government power to make grown people wear masks of questionable effectiveness is much more dangerous than any disease. I agree, absolutely, 100%. And however, I also hope that this issue is brought up here and discussed enough here that we learn from it and don't allow this shit to happen in the future. I'm sure I'm not the only one complaining about this in California right now. People have got to be throwing a fucking shit fit up and down the state. If anybody had listened to me in the first place, it wouldn't be happening, but you know.
And it was strange too, because like.
But you're not. No. Wait. Hold on. I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Email Anthrax. You're not advocating for people. You're advocating for a very select group of people that are vulnerable to death from COVID. You're advocating against everybody else. You don't care about being responsible to anybody except the group that you care about being responsible towards. You're not caring about me and my rights. You're easily, with a wave of your hand, sacrificing my rights for your special group. Go ahead, Rachel. Sorry.
It was weird too because I was like used to getting updates on like what was going on through my phone. Like they used to do updates on like when like there was like a time, like, you know, when there was like what do you call that? Like we had a code, we had a nighttime bedtime curfew, and so I was like, how are you getting this information? Like, what are they calling it? It's like stores and being like shut down. But it was weird. Like I was like, I should be getting an update for this, right? Yeah, if this is county-wide, you should have done like an alert.
I mean, the basic
Like,
argument
so
of these
weird.
ridiculous people is, wait, so their lives don't matter? The vulnerable population's lives don't matter? Yeah, sure they do, but that's not a good reason to pour that bucket full of money into the fireplace. In other words, you aren't caring about anybody. You aren't caring about people who are going to lose their lives to COVID either way. You aren't caring about anybody at all except your specialized little group of healthcare workers or something. You care about them. And it's like, thank you, healthcare workers. Thank you. Thank you to the people who have been forced to stay home and not do their job. They're the ones who have suffered.
It's like, what the heck? I was like, I don't know. Would you like to see what I got?
Sure, you can show the live stream too. Let me show the live stream at the same
Sure.
time. But see, here's the thing, email Anthrax. This population you're imagining doesn't exist. Everybody's capable of and responsible for advocating for themselves. Nobody wants you advocating for them. I certainly don't want you advocating for me.
No way.
I don't advocate for people. I advocate for truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah, I agree. And the American way does not include masks.
Anytime we mistake our politics for being about people, we make a big mistake. Politics are about rules, principles, justice, and so forth. We do not use politics to help a given subpopulation. We do not make that distinction in politics. In a properly run government, the government treats everybody the same. Nobody gets any special privileges. I mean, email Anthrax, it's not because I'm a pragmatic, it's because I'm a principalist. It's because your position is wicked. In your position, anybody can force anybody as long as their justification by utilitarian grounds is good enough. Problem with utilitarianism. But the worst thing about this is they only use utilitarianism in the justifications. They didn't use it in the thinking about it at all. Nobody thought about whether it was going to work, except for me. Alternate media, it seems to me you've mistaken actual society for one with some sort of centralized body pulling the strings behind the scenes or something. That's not the case. So that's wrong, but it's a common mistake. A lot of people make it. There. There is no neutral ground on this. It's the same kind of ground as it always is. Should email Anthrax's passion and good intentions justify forcing people at gunpoint or not? It's a simple question. I say public policy is, it's not just a status we agree on, it's an actual rule that gets implemented reportedly. Now, the 5 sheriff's departments in the state of California have said they will not enforce a mask mandate. And the governor has no power to justify this, command, decree. It's not a law. course, the problem we have now is those who made these decisions are in power, right? Now they have a vested interest in those false narratives. It's going to be difficult for them to admit they were wrong the whole time. They should have listened to Eric, and Eric was right about everything the whole time. I mean, that's what it always is, email anthrax, when you're talking about forcing people to do what they don't want and isn't within the normal range of human behavior. There's no they, Swift Eagle. God, I hate that shit. There are a bunch of people who are married to these narratives for specific personal reasons, not because they're part of some shady they with nefarious plots to control the world and impose more governance on people to what effect? Everybody's losing money on this, except for a couple of, maybe one or two companies or something, you know? Nobody wants a global depression. That's what people are buying with their stupidity. No, that's not true. Okay, so give me, see, Swift Eagle, this is why NI matters. So give me an example of what that would look like. What kind of control do they want, and why? And who's part of this they? Do you think Newsom is doing this stupidity because he wants more control of people and because it's not the case. I mean, he's stupid. He's not nefarious. You're giving people way too much credit. Stupidity explains what you justify with silly nefariousnesses that aren't existent. What did we all have for dinner? We haven't eaten dinner yet. We'll have to go get some dinner later, huh?
Or something. We do frozen pizzas.
Sure.
Whatever you want, whatever you think is best.
That's fine. We can do that. All this is highlighted just how incompetent people are in charge. I agree. Yeah, I don't think Gavin Newsom is nefarious. I think he's frame blind. You know, he's so locked in his frame of thinking. He's not a TI person. He's either ENFP or ENFJ, I think. And he's famous for being lazy and not really working very hard. And just like into kind of schmooze with people and stuff. So I don't know, one of the two. But he doesn't mean to be doing harm. He thinks he's making tough choices right now and doing the right thing, despite the public's disapproval of it. He's trusting the experts, you know. And when it doesn't work, what does he do? Like a lot of people, he does the worst possible thing imaginable. He doubles down. Can INFJs come across as ENFPs? Rachel was often typed as ENFP in the past. And I met another INFJ who had a lot of active NE apparently at first. I actually think Rachel, now that I've gotten to know her, I don't understand how anybody would ever type her as ENFP. She's so obviously NI on. But
well, it was like the 13
it's
test.
internet test.
Yeah. It was that and Simple Minds.
I mean, it depends what you're talking about. Can INFJ come across as ENFP? INFJ might type as ENFP on the internet tests, but anybody who knows what they're doing isn't going to think that they're the same. And I agree, yeah. ENFP is pretty easy to distinguish between as well. I haven't heard that much from Gavin Newsom. I haven't paid much attention to him, so I don't really know what type he is.
Well, I think by 7, like.
Okay, but Swift Eagle, who wants to eliminate free thought from the masses? Think. Go ahead.
So I think me being a 7, I would be like saying more extroverted answers on the test like that, you know, when it's not like when it's like a radius from like 1 to 10. So, like, some things I'd be like, yeah, I like going to parties because I'm 7. So, you know.
Well, there's also the fish out of water phenomenon in self-reporting. Now, this phenomenon is more likely to impact, I think, SI1, SI2 than any other type. But the fish out of water phenomenon is when you're doing what's unusual to yourself, it stands out more. So let's say as an ISTJ, I'm being typed, and I can think of that time like 2 years ago when I worked on those drawings, and I can think of some other times where I've done creative stuff, and I can think of how much I like creativity in general. And so I'm going to start imagining that, yes, I am very creative in comparison to others. But what I'm really doing is I'm very creative uh, when I'm creative in comparison to my norm. Okay, that's what they really should mean. But because they are SI, they don't understand themselves as comparisons against an actual sort of objective understanding of how other people are, but rather against some internal comparison, like how they normally are or how they used to be or something like that, you know? And so they're naturally going to remember that they're those fish out of water moments and they think, compared to my standard status quo, which is the other way of saying that is assuming everybody else is just like me, I must be more creative than than most people, because I feel and remember my creative outbursts more than I remember the norm, and I assume that everybody else's norm is the same as my norm. Okay, Audra Media, can you please not do such race baitingly trolly things, please? It's annoying. Remember, I'm not part of any mainstream media trying to silence you. I'm Eric trying to avoid getting in trouble with YouTube. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, free expression is a human right, but that doesn't mean you can freely express yourself in any forum, because, like all rights, it follows from property rights. Free expression and everything else, all rights, all negative rights follow from property rights. And in fact, even positive rights follow from, well, actually, I mean, I guess positive rights follow from your majority. Well, incorrect, Odd Media. That is incorrect. I've explained this before on multiple occasions. If you want to include magical thinking in the equation, then you have to be, if you want to be right, then you need to talk about positive moral indications, not negative. And rights are a negative moral matter. The thing is, Odd Media, you don't have to just troll about religion. You could actually engage interestingly about some topics that, and you learn a lot, Probably learn a lot just being here anyway, I guess. Mm-hmm. Is SI more sentimental? SI is more nostalgic for sure. Nostalgia and SI go hand in hand. Is it sentimental? I would guess that sentimentality, depends what you mean by sentimentality. Do you mean eyes welling up with tears at the unbearable thickness of life? Or Or are you talking about like tendency to put up wall signs kind of sentimentality? You're talking about kind of Hallmark Network kind of stuff, or the O network, then you're talking about FESI. If you're talking about eyes filling up with tears over the incredible richness of life or something, then you're talking about SIFI, which are your NFPs. And I guess your STJs. Sup, Mike Hart, how's it going? There is no God in my mind, so in my mind, bad argument. Well, you know, if you're going to affirm a statement that there is no God, then you're affirming it within some particular frame of reference, such as you're basically saying, I'm going to make it such that existentiality is subsumed by defensibility of justifications regarding that claim. And if you are going to evaluate it within that frame, then that's the correct evaluation to make, and that's fine. But okay, so Otter Media probably has used that logical defensibility metric to justify the status he's attached to, namely the statement, there is no God. Then he's used his FI to determine that the concept of God is evil. And he's done it in the same way that groupists always do. They said, well, here are some examples of members of that group. Because he's not really thinking about God or the idea of God. He's thinking about people who affirm God as a preferable means of tackling reality, right? So he's kind of playing little word games here.
Your ear looks nice and unshot.
Thanks. So the thing is, Otter Media is either claiming that we ought only use that metric in dealing with things in life, or he's affirming that we ought to use that metric in this instance. And I'm not sure which of those is his position. I don't think he probably doesn't know either.
Thank you, Mike Hart. Appreciate it. I went to the Cloverly Barbershop where Eric and his dad go, and the lady did a wonderful job.
He claims himself real by veto. What God are you talking about? The God you negate is not the Almighty God. Islam is authoritarian, and Judaism is a clever disguise for nepotism.
What is nepotism?
Like helping your kid advance because he's your kid rather than because he's the most meritocratically justified or something.
That's what happens in Hollywood nowadays. More people who have kids who have names linked to adult actors and actresses are getting jobs rather than like people who have actual talent but no name.
The whole point of conceptually what God is something to be referenced that that one can't know in full by anything reducible, and one can't even know in full by the irreducible. In other words, it's beyond just irreducible, it's ineffable, definitionally. Because if you try to constrain God with words as to what exactly he is besides ineffable, then, of course, you've missed the core concept of it, which is that God is outside of any specific human metric of understanding. The best we can do is to have some sort of behavioral engagement called faith. Who talks about God-given rights? You're the only one who talks about God-given rights. It's like if atheism had any meat to it, our media here would be making real arguments instead of just trolling. He's frustrated because every time he's ever encountered a Christian before, he's been able to whip their ass probably, and has played the role of the pedant correcting the confused Christian. And in this instance, the roles are reversed on him entirely, and he's I didn't say you had God-given rights. You did. And then you said, I don't care about your God-given rights.
Yeah, I saw it too.
I said that they're not God-given.
I keep receipts.
That negative and positive rights follow logically from ownership. You ignored that. You're one of those people who expects me to make the argument you want me to make so that you can negate it. But I never make those arguments because I'm smarter than that. Does this sound true to what you observe? ISTJ have their particular storyline, and then in uncomfortable situations that are not their preference will make up a story where it makes sense to. No, I think they'd probably be likely to just be quiet. They might make up a story, press hard enough. It's their fourth slot. They're going to go to it reluctantly. Yes, the right to speak as well is a function of, or is deducible from, ownership. Object lesson 1. Okay, you need to do a lot of work on your language parsing. You don't know what you mean when you say objective. You don't know what you mean when you say values. You don't know what you mean when you say divinity. I don't even think you know what you mean when you say object. You probably know what you mean when you say history. Do higher planes of existence exist? No. We are, for each of us, we exist in a, we can think of it as we exist in a reality that we are, that we are creating on our own system. So it's like when you play in a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. No, but or Otter Media, why do you keep ignoring what I say? Otter Media, negative rights are deductively enabled or empowered. You can deduce them from ownership. I already explained this to you. I said it 50 times. Why do you keep ignoring it? Jeez. It's frustrating dealing with people who come in, want to be smart, like I'm so smart, and then don't actually behave as if they are, and offer the opportunity to engage in an actual idea, choose not to. Like this. History of the Virtue is not responsive to anything I said, Otter Media. So once again, you're just being weak.
Hey, Octavio Silva.
Hi, Dad.
Hi. Yeah, Musk launched. They got a nice picture on channel. I just looked up on the satellites. They're just clear as a bell up there.
Can you see it right now?
Yeah.
Satellite?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on my phone.
Where is it? Okay, it's a little while. Boo-doo-dum, 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 bum, bum, bum. Satellite of love, bum, bum, bum. Satellite of love, bum, bum, bum. Satellite of love, satellite of. It is a classic song. It's a Lou Reed classic. Thank you, Dave. I do respect my father a great deal. This is the thing. I side with anybody who says that faith ought not be evangelized. I'm certainly no evangelist. I don't think what you believe is your business. If you want to ask me what I believe, I will tell you. And if you decide you want to believe that too, that's up to you. I don't think I have any sort of duty to spread the gospel or anything like that. I don't care what you believe. It doesn't matter to me about that stuff. Because it's magical thinking. Why would I care about somebody else's magical thinking? So what I do want to play for a second here is I went through here and I found a pretty good take of this song I'm working on now. I'm going to play it. It's about, it's not that long, probably about 2 minutes, about 2 minutes probably. 30,000 days, 30 million expectations, few of which are ever worth a damn. 30,000 nights spent alone or with another. People wear the terror of the cell. I used up half of my days, use them up in stupid ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody has the key? Wait until I know. Or is that hesitation? Clarity's no good once your chance is past. Lost too many phones, or I even knew they mattered. That's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. I've exhausted half of my days, used them up in such stupid ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I think I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, I think I'm doing this wrong. I think I'm doing this wrong. That's how it's supposed to
Am I
end.
a part of that?
What?
The wrong part?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. I continue to struggle with the same thing I always struggle with, which is when I'm working on something, what am I working on, and is it worth my time really? And or am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
I don't fret over my romance life at all.
Aww,
That's straightforward, easy squeezy.
that's nice.
So, okay, I want to talk about this narrow path thing. Lawnmower always has interesting things to say. I appreciate you, Lawnmower, by the way, if I haven't told you that before. Eric, don't you have some nerves about how it's a narrow road to heaven? I have not particularly nerves about it, but I have a lot of thoughts about having to walk an increasingly narrow road, but it's not utilitarian. I don't attempt to manifest God's will for the purpose of getting to heaven. That would seem to me to defeat the point. I don't know what happens after death. I don't have any opinion about that. And I get that Christians are likely to say, well, but Christianity tells you what happens after death, Eric, and so you don't need to have questions about that if you're gonna. I don't look beyond that part of stuff that I can have actual moral engagement with. I can't have any moral engagement with what happens after death. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's like that's not a good reason to be moral. I don't see how a God can be woven into this reality. You can't prove it. You gotta sit in silence and also work through whatever issues you have, and then God will appear on its own whenever. That's why people argue about it. They never get anywhere finding God. Would it be accurate to say I don't know if there is a God, or if there is a God, I don't know him? See, I don't think that agnosticism is preferable to atheism, in my opinion. And the reason is because I see agnosticism as a refusal to it's basically saying, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared for the debate round. It's like, The aff is God exists, and the neg is no, he doesn't. Or the aff is God doesn't exist, and the neg is yes, he does. The agnostic says, I don't know. And you go, okay, well, I guess you're not debating this round then. It's not like you're arguing a position either way. Now, it's true, a lot of agnostics will argue the position that I don't know is the best answer because you get to sidestep both having to affirm anything or having to negate anything. But the problem is you have to act as though you do know. In other words, your behavior, if you're going to be an agnostic, then you're presumably not engaged in faith-based behaviors. So if you think about agnosticism, atheism, and faith stuff, your hair is cute, says Tatum.
Thank you, Tatum.
Atheism is nihilistic. Agnostic is a positive version of not believing in God. I disagree. I think that atheism is taking a stance, a clear stance on the matter, and thereby being able to move forward with the question answered one way or another. But that the agnostic is forced to pretend to have no answer when he's going to behave as though he's an atheist.
So, right.
I mean, I agree. I'm not an atheist because atheists do have terrible arguments because they don't. Atheists in general don't question the frame at all. They assume their reducibly determinate standard is applicable in all situations to all things. Your life is your special life. This is my very special life. It's the specialest life I'm ever gonna have. Your life is your special life. Everything in the universe is for you. Each one separately. All the show for you. Huh. For Annie? So am I part of this show for Annie? What am I supposed to do here?
Too.
Where are my lines? Where are my stage directions? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing for Annie right now.
Maybe we're supposed to read every single thing that's on the screen. So, like 10:10 p.m. CJ O'Connell, ye emailed Anthrax. 10:10 p.m. Tatum. Morality matters to the God of the Bible. 10:11 p.m. Mike Hart. They just rant about how much they hate religion.
Okay, so I would say what I'm saying there is that atheists at least have a position and presumably behave accordingly. Although I don't think anybody really does. Nobody behaves as though there's no reality to moral equations. People understand that there's an experiential reality to it called guilt and feeling like a scumbag or whatever if you start doing immoral stuff. A wonderful cacophony of narratives. Well, that's called a blunderbuss of narratives.
A blunderbuss, like that.
McDonald's does not make you fat and consider it a meth. No matter, no good or bad altogether. Check out Becoming Harmonious, Glitch Mob music vid. God is a unified field, so it includes everything.
Even Fat Donald's.
Even my poo?
Yeah, even your
Does
poo.
God want even my poo?
Yeah, why not? He might find treasure in there.
Listen, everybody. God not only loves you, he loves everything, even your poo.
You never know what you'll find in there.
And my pee? Yes, God loves golden showers.
Yes, because he loves knowing your DNA.
So you mean your argument on McDonald's being healthy? that there's absolutely zero reason to think it's any less healthy than any other hamburger or chicken sandwich or whatever else you might eat. That's one point. Another point I would make is that it's the most well-tested food in the history of mankind. Trillions of people have eaten it, and with no ill effects. So, but and consider by that logic, all average height men who eat the amount that they do are fat. You ate the same amount as an average height man. What I do eat? What I eat how much I eat. Well, the point is, there's nothing inherently less healthy about anything you get at McDonald's than making the equivalent at home. It's not. None of them are unhealthy. There's nothing wrong with fast food places. Why do people think they're unhealthy? What's your rationale for thinking it's unhealthy, Marge? There's no good reason to. Less nutrients than what, James? Fewer nutrients than what? Ball sweat is a secret ingredient? Well, I mean, what makes you think ball sweat's unhealthy? Why, though, James? Why do you think it's not as healthy as other things? Why is sodium considered unhealthy? Marge, why do you think salt's unhealthy? People need salts. They sweat them out and they get dehydrated without salts.
I'm getting hungry now.
I'm getting hungry too. I guess let's go get some McDonald's.
Whatever you want to do.
Or what are you thinking? You got something else in mind?
I'm not thinking really. I'm playing my game.
Oh, it's late. It's after 10 o'clock already.
Yeah.
An excess of sodium? Well, what comprises an excess and why? I mean, it doesn't taste too salty. Right? Keep in mind, our bodies are designed to be able to tell that with our taste buds. So, for example, I know when something is too salty because why? It tastes too salty. So if it doesn't taste too salty, then it's not too salty. Why would I trust some irrationally arbitrary claim of ill health over my own taste buds? Why are those not good calories, Octavia? So what's wrong with calories from fat? Calories from fat are some of the most effective calories you can consume. For example, if you are staying out in the wilderness and you're cold, and it's fairly cold out there, but you eat a bunch of fat right before bed, according to Les Stroud, the Survivor Man, you can feel it. The burning of those calories generating heat within your body. It's a good thing. It gives you lots of energy. The problem is a lot of people are eating way too many calories that aren't from fat and protein and stuff. People are eating vegetables of all sorts. People are eating, stuff they shouldn't be eating. Like, I've seen people actually squeeze the grease out of things before. That is basically squeezing your heart health away. You don't want to squeeze away your heart health. Good heart health requires a lot of greasy fat. Yeah, obviously, we're supposed to eat animals. That's why they taste so good. I mean, in terms of biologically, we're supposed to. Morally, it may still be wrong, even if we're biologically most well-equipped to eat meat. I'm not trolling at all, Octavia Silva. I believe what I'm saying. The fact is, people who think that healthy food is vegetables and fruits and stuff like that are insane. And what they really need to do is more exercise. The reason people get fat is not because they're eating poorly. It's because they're not doing any real work or labor.
Some people gain weight because of medications too.
Right. And additionally, there are plenty of people like myself in the world who have trouble keeping weight on no matter what they eat and feel most correct and healthy and happy and content in the world when they eat stuff that's mostly fat and meat and cheese and and protein and salt. You know, a lot of salt needs a lot of salt. What studies have proven that salt can raise blood pressure? So does it raise blood pressure permanently or temporarily?
Depends on who.
I mean, if
people
you
who are low on iron need more salt.
it does not give you a higher risk of heart disease. It is possibly true that people who already have heart disease, if they eat salt, a lot of salt, that it constricts your veins and makes it more difficult temporarily for your heart to pump blood. And for such people, it might be a good idea to avoid sodium. But for normal people, it doesn't cause heart disease at all. Just because your heart has to work a little bit harder for a second or two doesn't mean that you have heart disease. You know, if in general, what probably causes heart disease more than anything else is a lack of exercise. Like any muscle, you need to exercise it. Now, who am I to talk? Well, I don't exercise very much. I don't exercise my heart very much, but I should. And that makes sense. The dietary bullshit, whatever your problem is, the maximum impact that could possibly be linked to diet is about 0.5%. Now, granted, there are some people who have eating disorder. I'm not including them. If you've got compulsive eating or something, that's different. Those people obviously can link to their compulsive eating, though. It's still not their diet. It's the fact they can't stop eating. Anyway, we got to go eat. I'm starving. All this eating is making me starving. Goodbye, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Nutrients I won't get from eating solely fast food. Well, I know occasionally I'll have a salad or something. You know, I can tell when I'm yearning for a salad. I'll get one.
It's funny. I commented on your dad's vegetables, how they looked good yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, funny, I don't see you eating them very often. I was like, I like broccoli and potatoes. Like, I don't know.
Yes, Maury, diet is only 0.5% of your health at most. And the thing is, that's one of the great lies that Eric is here to disavow people of. One of the great lies in society is that it matters a lot what you eat. In fact, human beings are designed to be able to eat any number of different possible things, whatever, meat, cheese, any kind of different foods, whatever. And as we see the fact that people eat different things all the world around, and the body is designed to take what it needs and poop out the rest. So you definitely need to get a little bit of different things all the time. You can't get all the different nutrients you need from just one food. But but beyond that, it doesn't really matter. As long as you eat enough of everything, your body will take what it needs to poop out the rest. If you get enough exercise, you'll stay the size of a normal size. And also, if you are on the larger side, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, some people are naturally fatter than other people, and that's totally okay. You got gut issues and fatty liver from bad diet. So did you try to do some sort of specialized diet or something instead of just eating what you felt like whenever you felt like it? Okay, so it's true. The only really healthy diet is to eat whatever you feel like eating whenever you feel like it. But some people can harm themselves, like, you know, Annie got fatty liver from trying to be vegan or something. I'm assuming. Why did you get fatty liver, Annie? What was your dietary problem? Did you eat too much kale? Was it excessive quinoa? Did you have a quinoa overdose? You did, didn't you? Oh, that doesn't cause those problems. That's bullshit. Whoever told you that caused the problems was lying to you. All right. Anyway, so don't listen to Annie. Eating too much sugar and carbs does not cause you to have these sort of health problems. That's totally bullshit. She says that her problems went away when she changed her diet. That's called placebo effect. Paying attention makes them go away when you expect them to. It's a little bit of magic you cast there. But definitely had nothing to do with eating plenty of sugar and carbs. Everybody should eat whatever they want, whenever they feel like it. It's the healthiest way to be. And if you embrace that as a vision of truth, then you too would feel better by eating whatever you want rather than something else. Okay, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for being here.